and you can exchange Bitcoin for a service or a product. But in relative terms, this is ridiculous. Because when you look at the right, in terms of US dollars, you have more than 100 million retailers or companies existing globally, and more than 3 million ATMs. So once again, relatively, it's maybe not a means of exchange, but it is slowly becoming so. The final one, the unit of account. For Bitcoin to be a unit of account and be used in financial statements, for example, to express the financial situation of companies, it would need a lot of conditions. It would need to be liquid, it would need to be widespread, it would need to have a market value, so-called market value, in trillions in order to be adopted. Today it's far from being the case. But there's a fun fact. The German authorities consider Bitcoin as a unit of account under certain rules, because that is in their interest. Because when you consider it as a unit of account, it would be taxed under a certain formula by German authorities. So the answer is a bigger and bigger yes for reserve of value, and for the other two functions, it's not yet the case, but probably it would be. So what about the characteristics of money? Does Bitcoin have the characteristics of money? If you draw a comparison between gold, fiat currencies, and Bitcoin, you would see that, in fact, Bitcoin dominates over gold and fiat currencies in terms of characteristics. It is scarcity by definition, because its emission is going to be limited to 21 million Bitcoin for the rest of the age of the universe. Okay? The gold is a rare resource, so gold is in green. Fiat currencies, you know better how much central banks use emission of money to wash themselves out of problems. Is it durable? The durability of Bitcoin is ensured by the number of computers that install Bitcoin and use Bitcoin and trade Bitcoin among themselves. The miners in the network and the terminals participating in this network. Today, if you ping the Bitcoin network, the maximum reachable is 25,000 nodes. And when you say nodes, you may have a desktop computer behind it, which have practically no chance of mining Bitcoins, or you can have a data center behind it, a huge data center, and that is considered one node. So the maximum is today 25,000. The active nodes are about 5,000 nodes on the network today. In order to cancel, to destroy Bitcoin, you would need simply to destroy this whole network. It is, proportionally speaking, as if you wanted to shut down the internet. You would need to shut down every and any participant in the TCP/IP. Is it divisible? Is it portable, sorry, the Bitcoin? It's probably the most portable, because it's an IT file, or you can download it and print it on a paper and take it out of your computer. You can have it on wallets that you can install from the internet. There are dozens of wallets available, electronic wallets. So it is really very easily portable and transportable. Is it divisible? Bitcoin is divisible up to 10 to the power minus 8. So it's 100th of a millionth of a Bitcoin, which is called a Satoshi, by the way. Is it verifiable? In order to be verifiable, you have to go on the network and try to get the information from an active node on the network that is a full node. A full node means it runs the blockchain. So, and for other characteristics, I think time is... so for other characteristics, it's really dominant over others. you have the stability, which I call stability. What I used as a measure of stability of money here is the volatility itself. So a big volatility is detrimental. This is the best. Fiat currencies. It's even apparently less than that. It follows period, obviously. So is Bitcoin money, or does it have money characteristics? Yes, to a very big extent. Is Bitcoin a Ponzi scheme? I will pass that quickly. It's research in the making. It's a comparison between, on the left, the European Central Bank balance sheet, retreated. Why is it retreated? Because this and this are off balance sheet, according to ECB, while it is, in reality, it should be treated on balance sheet, because it is a program whereby they are issuing new euros to inject liquidity in the markets and save European banks. On the right, you have a sort of Bitcoin balance sheet that does not exist. You don't have a company registered. You don't have a party. There are no assets and liabilities in Bitcoin. It's a peer-to-peer network, as simple as that. But if you wanted to grow, it would be something like that. And centrally, what is common in both of these is the question of trust. A central bank issues money based on trust. Forget about the notion we have that it is backed by gold or foreign currencies or whatever, or the ability to raise taxes. This is not true. Central banks are typically independent from governments, and they don't have the ability either to raise taxes or to cover their engagement with gold or foreign currencies. In Bitcoin, the value of Bitcoin is intimately linked to the cost of electricity, because it uses electricity to crack the math problem that is needed to build the blockchain. It costs depreciation of hardware. So really, when you compare both, you really wonder, where is the Ponzi scheme? Here are some quick statistics about Bitcoin. The Bitcoins in circulation today are 16 million. It's going to be capped at 21. The Bitcoin network power consumption, here 1 gigawatt. It's approximately a third of Lebanon's electricity consumption. It's practically a tenth of Google's electricity consumption. The market value of Bitcoins in circulation is near $12 billion. The value of Bitcoin hardware that is installed by miners to compute the mathematical problems and to register Bitcoin in the blockchain is about $7 billion. Okay. So we said that Bitcoin mixes known technologies. Among these, you have the peer-to-peer network. We've talked about this. Hashing. Hashing is a computer technique whereby you would summarize an enormous database into very few strings of characters. If you have, for example, the Library of Congress of the United States can be hashed into a 32 hexadecimal character text. So really only 32 characters. How's that? That's because of power of the power of giving different possibilities for each bit. For example, in hexadecimal characters, each bit can take 16 different values. So if you use only 2 bits, you can represent 16 times 16 different informations. Okay? And then if you use 32 bits, you have 16 to the power of 32. So it's really enormous. And this is something used in order to summarize databases, information, files, etc. But also to make sure that this version of the database, the file you have summarized, has not been tampered with. Because it suffices to change a comma in the last book in the Library of Congress for the whole 32 characters to change completely. Okay, that's the power of hashing. And why is hashing used in the blockchain? It is used to summarize the thousands of transactions taking place. You have practically today 10 transactions a second on the network. So it's really a huge amount of data. Public-private key cryptography, we've talked about that. Proof of work, of stake, of importance. This is a very important concept because it solves a problem in IT that is the following. It is called the Byzantine generals problem. When you have a distributed network, a peer-to-peer network, and you don't have a central authority that decides and takes decisions and imposes it on the network, how do you reach consensus? I mean, you might have nodes that say black and others white. You might have nodes that vote with a time lag and they miss the vote to reach consensus. So how do you reach consensus? The solution that Satoshi Nakamoto put forth was to say, we will force every participant in this network to prove to us that they have done work, they have skin in the game, they have expended computer depreciation, and they have expended electricity to solve a very difficult mathematical problem that is distributed across the whole network. And the first computer to solve this will have as retribution bitcoins that are granted to it ex nihilo, out of nothing. Okay? This is the way bitcoins are created. The first computer that reaches the mathematical solution that is chosen at random, and that the whole network worth $7 billion of hardware working for 10 minutes uninterruptedly to try to crack the solution. The first one that cracks it gets a reward in new bitcoins issued. Okay? So the proof of work, this work you would impose on participants to oblige them, all of them, to have skin in the game, would prevent frauders, would prevent participants that are trying to crash the system. Because there are people who say you might have an attack whereby a very, very powerful computer or company that has practically $3 billion or $4 billion worth of hardware that might be able to crash the system, where they don't have economic incentive to do so, very simply. Because the amount of work you put to crack this network, you'd better putting it mining bitcoins. Okay? The Merkle tree is a sort of IT structure whereby information is summarized from a level to the other, meaning you hash and then hash again, like we were discussing hashing of the Congress library. You would hash and hash again at different levels to arrive to a summary of characters that would alone summarize all the transactions that took place on the Bitcoin network for the last 10 minutes. Okay? You have it in one block of information, and this block, whenever your miner or your computer has won the competition with others to solve the mathematical problem, is added to the blockchain and considered the truth. Okay? And that's the reason why it is called the blockchain. It is a chain, an uninterruptible chain of blocks that follow each other. Each one of them is the summary of all the transactions that took place on the network for the last 10 minutes, and is also the summary of the preceding block. So it has to have this information to be able to connect. Okay? What emergent properties, sorry, what time is it? Yeah, okay, let's go.